from what I'm being told, Kyrie's side of the camp is disgusted because their mentality is that they didn't put this out. They believe LeBron James and his camp put this out. LeBron James people obviously categorically deny such a thing, but Kyrie Irving's side of the camp believes that LeBron has put this out because LeBron was a bit perturbed at what he had heard Kyrie Irving told Cleveland Cavaliers management. So it clearly is a dysfunctional situation right now, and it seems to be going south.
All right, so you heard what Stephen A. is saying Kyrie's camp thinks. Will, how much of this is on LeBron?
Well, as for how much of the leak is on LeBron, I'm going to defer to my colleague Stephen A. Smith, who's very plugged in, I'm sure, not only with Kyrie's camp, but everyone in the NBA. But as for the entire situation, Jen, Ryan, how much of this falls back on LeBron? The answer inevitably has to be all of it. Now, I don't mean that like, oh, LeBron's to blame for the Cavaliers' problems. In fact, all of the Cavaliers' success is to blame on LeBron James. He is responsible for everything they've accomplished over the past several seasons. LeBron James is the reason for anything that happens in Cleveland. But I don't just mean good things. I mean bad things as well. And that is a logical consequence of being, whatever metaphor you want to pick, the heaviest weight in the room, the umbrella that shields you from rain but casts a shadow. Whatever you pick, LeBron is the reason. So let's talk about this for a minute, Ryan. Why would Kyrie demand this trade request? Well, first of all, from the wonderful reporting from Ramona Shelburne, Brian Windhorst, Adrian Wojnarowski, it could be possibly because he wants to be the man. He doesn't want to play second fiddle. He doesn't like the style of play next to LeBron. Well, if any of that is true, that's on LeBron as well. That's what life is like under the shadow of the greatest player of our generation. How about that? Mm-hmm. Is he still the greatest player on the planet? I've had that debate once or twice.
He is.
But whatever he is, okay,
is.
we know. KD's had a thing or two to say about that, Ryan. But that's a debate for another day, another time.
A thing or two compared to 100 things,
okay,
or 1,000,000 things,
okay,
or 2 million things.
I'm not going to take the bait. I'm not going to take the bait and go down that alley right now. However, we know that LeBron is the most dominant force in the NBA from both a playing perspective and from an attention perspective. And life under that shadow can sometimes be somewhat hard to grow, you know. And if Kyrie feels that he needs to grow, then that is a logical consequence of being next to LeBron. I'm not saying it's logical to feel that way. I'm saying it's logical to understand how one would get there.
Right.
If I may,
you got it.
There's one other option.
Camp today is your day.
No. There's one other option, and this is one that I have a more easy time accepting, and it's that this is all logical for Kyrie, that he's getting ahead of the game, that he's not insane, he's not insecure, that he's savvy. He sees that LeBron can be gone a year from now. He sees the uncertainty. He sees that Cleveland might not be the place a year from now that he wants to build his future around. And he's trying to get ahead of that news. He's trying to get ahead of that eventuality, and that also falls back on LeBron. LeBron creates uncertainty, not wrongly. LeBron has leverage. He uses his leverage. But like dropping something in a pool, the ripple effects go out, and then it bounces back towards you. And that uncertainty has effects on those around you, and in this case, perhaps Kyrie Irving, who wants to take some control over his future. Either way you cut it, insecurity or savvy, it does come back to LeBron.
Well, see, this is what confuses me about basketball. Right? And in the game where the players run the game, like you said, you're a guy like LeBron. When you leave an organization, it changes. When you go to a new organization, it changes. Let's look at the reason why Kyrie Irving is in Cleveland. Because LeBron went to Miami, they stunk it up, they got the first pick. And when you talk about LeBron's shadow, see, I don't see it as a shadow. You're saying Kyrie needs to grow. He wants to go out on his own and mature and blossom. Well, the reason you've blossomed the last 3 years is because LeBron didn't cast a shadow. He gave you sunshine, right? He gave you rain, precipitation. He allowed you to blossom. He put you on TV 50 times a year. He put you in the finals 3 times. He gave you the opportunity to be seen because everybody knew Kyrie Irving could play. We all understood his skill set. We knew that he had the ball on the string. We knew that he can finish at the rim better than most 7-foot centers can finish, and he can only jump over a wet hamburger. We knew all these things, but we still didn't see Kyrie as a star. LeBron has given us an opportunity to see him as a star in this league, to see him as the all-star that he is. So there is no escaping that shadow. There is no getting from outside that umbrella because there was no umbrella. He is the reason you are where you are now. You talked about things being logical, right? You said a logical reason would be the fact that he thinks LeBron's going to leave. So then that totally takes away the fact that he says he wants to be the focal point. Because if LeBron leaves, you're the focal point.
Right.
If LeBron's no longer in Cleveland, you're the guy. Let's talk about some of the teams he wants to go to. The Spurs, the Minnesota Timberwolves. We know what they're building there. The only team that is confusing to me, talked about the Miami Heat. We saw what that team was able to do, even with LeBron and D Wade not being there, is the Knicks. Maybe he wants to go to the Knicks because he's from Jersey. But those other teams, Kawhi Leonard's the man if you go to the San Antonio Spurs. And that's not going to change because of what he can do on the defensive end, the offensive end, and the way that he facilitates offense. You come in and you're a scorer. You go to the Minnesota Timberwolves, which seems like the team he wants to go to most because he tried, according to David Aldridge, he tried to get a trade to the Bulls while Jimmy Butler was still there. So maybe that's a guy he wants to play with because I think he understands his shortcomings. And you talk about controlling his career, he knows what he needs. He knows that he's a scorer. Despite his great skill, when you watch Kyrie Irving play, it's very six-manish. It's very microwave Vinnie Johnson, if I could take it back a few years to the Detroit Pistons and the Bad Boys. Instant offense when nobody can get anything created. He can pound the ball and create shots. It looks very Jamal Crawford. It looks very Lou Williams. It's just that he has the type of skill level that made him the #1 pick. So we don't see him in that mindset or we don't see him in that space. So he has to go to a place where he has other things around him, a defender, a facilitator, guys that can help him win basketball games because he can't do that by himself.